Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about another possible hate crime hoax that's happening here in the United States of America. We all know that the racial tensions have been high in this country ever since those fateful days that had those tragedies happen in Minneapolis and then later in Atlanta. Those have caused race baiting and all kinds of racial tension that was mostly driven by the media and celebrities and liberals and other BLM Antifa activists. They're all pushing for this race war and trying to get the country into this big stir leading up to the election. They did the same kind of thing in 2016 when there was our last presidential election, and now they're doing it again in 2020. And the summer is really heating up. And as a result, there's been more and more of these hoaxes coming up each and every day. Specifically, more recently, we had one from NASCAR races. NASCAR is a famous racing company, and they have race car drivers trying to get around the track 500 times or whatever it is. Is in first, wins the race. And recently, one of their first and only black race car drivers, a half black race car driver named Bubba Wallace, he claimed that there was a hateful object found in his garage. Now, come to find out, that turned out to not be the case. It was just a piece of rope. It had no racial implications. In fact, it had been there for over a year, and it was also placed in all the other garages. It was just a rope that opened a garage door or something. It was just hanging there. But the guy turned it into this whole hate crime, big story anyway. And today we have another story that's very similar to that in a lot of ways. That story, of course, was also similar to Jussie Smollett, who faked a hate crime last year, and then Bubba Wallace got it going earlier this year. And now we're talking about a person named Althea Bernstein, and she is a young girl who's only 18, but she has a lot of similarities to these guys too. She's also biracial, she's half black, and she's claiming a hate crime happened to her as a way to kind of race bait and get anti-white racism going around. We're going to talk about this story and more. Specifically, there's also another part to this story where Meghan Markle gets involved. She's an American actress who married the prince in Britain and then made him quit the royal family, and now they moved to Canada, but they still want to talk about American politics all the time. They're very pro BLM and all that crap, and Meghan Markle has gotten involved too. So we're going to talk about all that soon, but first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. A new bill has hit Washington, and it's trying to invade your privacy right now. It's called the Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act, and if passed, it will be the end to warrant-proof encryption, meaning both you and I won't have privacy from the government, even encrypted data. That's why I do everything I can to ensure my privacy online, which means always keeping my VPN or virtual private network turned on. Using a VPN will hide your location online and stop advertisers from creating a profile about you. And it will also allow you to surf the web anonymously. That's why I recommend a VPN, and I also recommend the company I love and trust, Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield is built from the ground up specifically for your privacy and protection, which is why I'm real excited to give you guys this special offer today. It's fast, reliable, and secure, and it's also available on your iPhone and Android devices. I've partnered with Virtual Shield to exclusively give you, our audience and listeners, 50% off any VPN plan. So make sure you check out the link below or go to virtualshield.com/NoBS and start protecting yourself online today. Thanks for your time, and now back to the show. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this story. This new hate crime hoax is coming out of another state. This time, Wisconsin has a hate crime possible hoax. It's still in the development stages, but it definitely looks suspect. So we have to say it's allegedly a hoax for now. We're not sure, but it definitely has some of the same ingredients, and also it's lacking any evidence whatsoever. The only evidence we have in this story is a personal account from the person who was supposedly attacked, which sounds very familiar. That's how the other cases went down. And without further ado, let's get to this article. It has more details. It says, Meghan Markle personally calls 18-year-old biracial woman who claims she was set on fire by 4 white men. Now, this already sounds ridiculous. We've got this biracial princess lady who was an American actress who married a British guy, and now she quit the royal family, but somehow she's still important. She was also previously an actress, but I don't know why she's involved. And then next, we have another biracial woman, this 18-year-old, who's claiming she was set on fire by four white men. Now, this claim is very, very extreme. And when you get to the story and how she explains it, it sounds suspect as hell. I mean, that's why everyone's saying this is probably another hoax. We don't know yet, but I don't know. This might be a case where we might not ever know because there's really no evidence. There's just this girl's story, even though she has a claim that should provide some more evidence. Like we could see burn marks like in her car, or the weapon, the lighter she claimed was thrown at her should have been in the car. There could be video evidence or something, but no, it's just really vague story from another kind of biracial woman. And the interesting thing I found about this one is, before we get to the story, this is actually more generous. Like there was a lot of people in the beginning saying she was a straight up black woman. Like, and if you look at her picture, she is definitely, here's Meghan Markle. She's the biracial princess. And then here's the chick that got hurt, unfortunately. And she does have these kinds of marks on her skin, but a lot of people are saying they don't look like burn marks and they don't look like it actually happened in this way. Like if she got thrown lighter fluid on her and a lighter, like she claims, it would have lit her up way more and her eyebrows would be gone. Her hair would be on fire. It's just a really strange story. So she definitely got hurt and we feel for that. And she looks sad and possibly shaken. But as you'll see, we'll get to the video and all the stories soon. But as you can see, it's like she barely even looks black. Like I don't get how this even works, because these biracial people act like they're targeted for being black, but for all we know, they could have been targeted for being white. We've seen way more anti-white crimes and lots of anti-white racism. Like we have video evidence of that stuff too. Like I can't even show you most of those videos, but there's videos of people like beating down old white people or setting bums on fire. And this is like proven to be black on white hate crime. But all these kinds of white on black hate crimes, they always turn out to be this way. And it's like an interesting case, because you'd think if there was so much racism, they could find more and more distinct examples of this. But all we ever get is these half black people claiming that some white people attacked them because they were black. But that doesn't make sense already. And then we don't ever have any evidence or good video. And lots of times they get proven wrong. So that's another case that's definitely possible today. And again, this is allegedly a hoax. We're still in the development phase, but it's safe to say when you see everything that's going on, it's definitely questionable. Meghan Markle made a personal phone call to Althea Bernstein, an 18-year-old biracial woman from Madison, Wisconsin, who claimed she was set on fire while driving by four white men in an alleged hate crime. Michael Johnson, the president and CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Dane County and Bernstein's acting spokesperson, confirmed in an interview with local news station that the Duchess of Sussex spoke with the victim for approximately 40 minutes on Saturday, with her husband Prince Harry hopping on the call for about 10 minutes. Okay, right now I just had to say a big who cares. I mean, I didn't really need to bring in this part of the story, but I just thought it was funny. Like Meghan Markle and the prince are getting involved, and this is going to look really bad on them when it turns out to be a hoax. So yeah, the princess part is besides the point. What we really want to get into is the actual story, which is very, very interesting, and it was shared by Good Morning America. And again, they went with biracial, which is the proper way to describe this. But a lot of people just said she was straight up black. Like I saw a lot of reports online, a lot of other papers. So here's the girl's explanation of what supposedly happened.
I don't really have an appetite, so it's just, I don't want anyone to ever feel like this.
18-year-old Althea Bernstein says she was on her way to her brother's house around 1 a.m. Wednesday morning. She says she was stopped at a red light and listening to music when she heard someone yell the N-word.
Oh, God forbid. Okay, already sounded suspect, though. Like she's driving around at 1 a.m. And what a lot of people referenced here was there was a very, very violent BLM protest at the same time in the close by area. So it's very possible she was attending or coming back and forth or crossing paths with the BLM, the agitators, the Antifa, these anti-cop, very racist protesters.
According to the police report, her driver's side window was down and she heard someone yell out a racial epithet. She looked and saw four men, all white. She says one used a spray bottle to deploy a liquid on her face and neck and then threw a flaming lighter at her, causing the liquid to ignite.
Okay, this is the part that sounds interesting too. Like if she was sprayed with a flammable liquid, like why is it so spotty here? Like why is this burn? I feel like if these guys were that close, they would have to be close to the car. and then they're going to throw a flaming lighter. That means another thing too, because you can't throw a normal lighter. You can't keep a normal lighter on. So I guess they threw a Zippo, maybe like the metal one that folds and stays lit. But that's kind of hard to throw too, and you can't throw it far. So these guys had to be close by. And then on top of that, we would have to have a lighter. We would have to have evidence the car would be burnt. There would be like a lighter in the car. Her face would be way more burnt. Like she got out pretty good for what she's describing. And this just the whole thing, it doesn't add up very well at all already. And then when you see her talk more, it actually gets even worse.
She drove forward and patted out the flames.
I don't even like remember anything, but your brain still has that flight or fight response that takes care of you. So I made it home. I called my mom. I drove myself to the ER.
Okay, I don't know if that laugh is appropriate. She also has very kind of dodgy eyes. She's looking around a lot. She's not focused on the camera. Like she's thinking and like creating events in her head. That's what that usually means when you dodge your eyes and look around a lot. And then on top of that, listen to what she did. Like she got hit with this fire and then she got burned. And then her first instinct was to drive all the way home and call her mom. Like she never called a cop. And then she next drives herself to the ER. I mean, if this burn was that bad, I don't think you'd be able to really drive properly. And then the next thing that doesn't make sense is she says, like, she tries to cover for herself and say, oh, she doesn't remember anything. She doesn't remember. But then she does remember that the four guys were white. She was sure about that. And that's kind of a hard thing to see at 1 a.m. unless they're really close to you. And then the other thing about that is, how would they see her? Because they're supposedly coming after her based on her race. And it's 1 a.m. and she's sitting in a car. And like, let's be real. I mean, she doesn't even look black. Like she hardly looks part black at all. The only blackness here is like curly hair and like a slight tan. She has blue eyes. You know, she doesn't look like a person like you would if you're going to go after a certain race. Like if you're going to attack, supposedly in this case, they're alleging black people are under attack. I mean, they're not even getting a black person. And that's why I asked earlier, I'm like, how do we know she was attacked for being black? She could have just as easily been attacked for being white. That's happening actually more right now.
Care of you. So I made it home. I called my mom. I drove myself to the ER.
Now, in active and ongoing investigation, Madison's mayor saying, while we are still learning more about the details, current information suggests this may have been a premeditated crime targeted toward people of color.
How would you get that idea at all? I mean, this is just an attack. If it even happened, it's just an attack. And the whole claim, I guess, is because they said a racial epithet, supposedly. I'm not sure that was even the case. Like, it sounds really doubtful. And to me, what it sounds like is she got herself hurt in some other way and made up a fake story to cover it up. Like, that sounds pretty likely. And that's why people are bringing up that other BLM protest saying maybe she got hurt there. Maybe she's one of those people trying to set something on fire and burn themselves, like throwing a Molotov cocktail or something like that. Like that sounds way more likely. And then she made up this story to cover for it. But the other thing worth noting is this is her and her mother. I don't think the father is in the picture. Shocking, but it just goes to show, I mean, she doesn't even look black. I mean, I hate to say it like that. I'm not trying to be racist, but it's like, I don't get why she gets to play the black card because she got attacked. And then it just doesn't make sense. Like if they say those people were saying those racial slurs at her, I mean, that doesn't make sense either. She doesn't even look that way. Like four guys walking up thinking about saying that, they wouldn't say it to someone like this.
Of color, which makes the incident even more disturbing.
It's definitely a learning opportunity, and I'm very, very hopeful that these men sort of see all the responses and that they know that they hurt me and that this is something that's going to affect me for a while. And I really hope that they choose to improve themselves.
Well, I think they know they hurt you because that's the intent if someone did this. And I also think you're just probably making this all up to cover for something else. Again, this is all speculation still. It's still in the development phase, but you guys let me know what you think of this story. Does it add up to you? Like I already see a lot of holes in it. She's out driving around at 1 a.m. She's sitting at a stoplight. All of a sudden these guys come up. Like this is the same thing that Jussie Smollett said. Like he was out late at night and said two guys rolled up in MAGA hats and said, "This is MAGA country." I mean, it's very similar to that kind of hoax. And we know now that these hoaxes are more common than actual anti-Black hate crimes. Like, they can't even find them. That's why they have to make them up. And then the other thing is the fact that Good Morning America would share this story and try to race bait this without the evidence, without any proof whatsoever. Like, just some girl with some marks on her face and we're going to take her word for it. What? Because she's half Black? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I could say something like that. No one would believe me. And, this is the reason they're getting bad ratings. This has more dislikes than likes. Good Morning America's hearing about it in the comments. They didn't talk about the racist attack in Macy's. That was a terrible show too. That was one of those examples. And this guy jokes about, I don't really have an appetite. Well, that's the first. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that chick looks like she was missing many meals. Yeah, this is just Bubba Wallace and Jussie Smollett all over again. And I think it might be harder to prove the hoax this time. I don't know if we're going to get, there might be some video cameras in the neighborhood or on the traffic lights or something. I'm not sure how far that's going to go. But I do think people are questioning this. I do notice that not a lot of news places are picking it up. They're trying to just pretend it didn't happen. And there's a few, like Good Morning America, jumped the gun. But for the most part, not a lot of people are talking about this yet. And I think that's because they've known, and we could see like Bubba Wallace didn't pan out, Jussie Smollett didn't pan out. But this is just another bad case. And there are people latching onto it because they're just so desperate to push this anti-white narrative. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Do you believe this chick? Can you believe that Meghan Markle got involved for like no reason? I don't even know what she has to do with it. And then also, let me know what you think about this video and what videos we should be making next. All that should be listed below in the comments. Also, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell for notifications, and check our second channel called NoBS News. Until next time, you all have a great day.